What's going on? It's Coach Matt here from Psycosmos. Today we're going to be talking about the Immaculate Conception, the Kristos process, and the ovulation method. This is going to be a really important video. It's going to be a shorter one because I can't keep diving into these things. If you want to work with us, make sure you go and like, subscribe, comment down below, tell us your thoughts. Go check it out. You know, all of our stuff that we have, courses, one-on-one coaching sessions, books, materials, free stuff that we have on our website, things like that. Okay, let's just dive right into it. Number one, this is not medical advice, so do not take this as medical advice. And number two, the disclaimer that I'm going to put out is I understand that there is a minority of women who are practicing the Kristos process, and they are overlapping a lot of facts and figures. A lot of people are saying, no, you know, it does work for me in the moon and the sun sign thing. That's the minority of women that I've seen. A majority that I've worked with hundreds of women, along with Coach Rich, along with Coach Tyler. You know, we're in the hundreds now. And a lot of them are saying, no, this process does not work for me. Now, half of this is because you're being gaslighted into believing that you have to have this immense DMT type of Kundalini awakening experience. And that's not necessarily the truth, because part of that is your Kundalini activation, okay? The sacred secretion process, the Kristos process, the greater mitosis cycle of the body, this has happened to you ever since you started puberty. Every single month since you started puberty. You didn't feel it back then, and you're not going to feel it now unless you activate the Kundalini. That's the solar aspect of it. The lunar aspect is the subtlety of how this just continues to occur. Okay, so don't get it twisted. If you're confused, go watch the other videos that we put out. You feeling the process is not evidence. Okay, that's anecdotal, and that's the problem. You can activate Kundalini anytime. Try it when the moon's not in your sun sign. Try it when you're ovulating. Try it when you're menstruating. You're still going to have that same feeling. The feeling's not what we're talking about here. It's not. Okay, the feeling would occur when you have the alignment proper. And that is why we're talking today about the Immaculate Conception. Because in the Bible, Mother Mary receives a message from the angel Gabriel, and he says, you're pregnant. When would a woman be pregnant? During ovulation. So, I mean, that's simple enough. Simple enough. However, most accounts say that Mother Mary was anywhere between 12 and 14 years old when she gave birth to Jesus. My assumption would be she got the message at 12 and gave birth at 13 because Jesus epitomizes the number 13. I think that it would probably be in a cosmic alignment in that sense, but that's just my theory and my opinion. I believe that, still hitting on this discrepancy here, I believe that it's possible for you to train your body to be able to activate Kundalini at will. I can do it. I can activate the Kundalini within my body at will. This is why people do prana, energy, Reiki. They're able to activate the nervous system. That's really what it is. The Kundalini is just the stimulation of the nervous system. The Kristos, the greater mitosis cycle, the sacred secretion, this is a loop. This is just something where it's like the channels, the stars align for you, the channels open up, and bam, there you go. The moon is the mirror of God. It's the shining mirror, as is described in many other theologies and mythologies. And essentially, this shining mirror is what the reflections of God's light all impact us and, you know, awaken this process so that our body can heal. Well, the other part of it too is that, and you know, I discussed this in my video on time and space. It's men and women are different, and it's going to be different. So instead of getting into the details of the biology, which we already did, you can go check out the 1.5 hour long video that Coach Richard and I did a few weeks back. We're going to talk about the mythology, because the Immaculate Conception is the Kristos process. The only time that you see in mythologies all around the world where some form of a savior or a hero is being born is when the mother is either impregnated by a god or receives a message that they are pregnant by God. Okay? It's all about fertility for the women. It's all about fertility. It's all about the alignment of the energy so that she can get pregnant, whether it be by a man or whether it be by God. Okay? Here are all of the examples, and I'm just going to read them off. Jesus, Krishna, Neja. Krishna is from Hinduism, from India. Neja is China. Marduk, Mesopotamian, Mithras, Mesopotamian, Babylonian, Sumerian, all these cultures had very similar theories. Heracles or Hercules. Horus is Egyptian. Everybody knows Hercules. Amenhotep III from Egypt was a pharaoh who was also believed to have been noble and chosen because of a divine virgin birth. Isaac and Emmanuel and Melchizedek. Zarathustra from Zoroastrianism. And then I put Athena and Odin here with like a little asterisk star, because even though technically it's kind of like a virgin birth, it's not, so they're kind of like in their own category, but I still put them there to emphasize the whole, the conception part. It's the birthing aspect. It's the fact that God is a creator of life, and the woman's alignment makes her a creator of life. Has nothing to do with the man's alignment. Has nothing to, the man can be, he can get a woman pregnant so long as she has the timing synced up. All she needs is his seed. Dionysus or Bacchus, Perseus, Ion and Creusa, Romulus and Remus, Iskander or Alexander the Great, Rama, Karna, Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama was said to have potentially been a virgin birth, and there's been many different incarnations of Vishnu who were also seen as virgin births. His name I'm not even going to bother pronouncing because I never even heard it before. And also Chi Hoji. Chi was this is all from China, and I actually don't even really know the full story. I was just looking this stuff up. Kabir is another one I don't really even know. That's more from, he's an Islamic poet. And then Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu, and another guy that I'm not even going to bother pronouncing. There's actually people that I've never even heard of when I was doing a little bit of research into this, and I really didn't even read their stories. I just put them up here because they're all fundamentally written in papers together. They're all, like, all the theologists, the scholars, the mythological scholars, biblical scholars, they all talk about these guys. And there's actually even more on the list, but almost every single one of these, in some instance or some case, it's the same story. It is some form of a virgin or a holy sacred woman who gets pregnant by God. So, I depicted the Immaculate Conception as it's often shown in artwork, especially during the medieval, Renaissance, Enlightenment era, all that. It's always Mother Mary. She's either got 7 or 12 stars around her head. That could be the 7 or the 12. That's some esoteric stuff. Sometimes she's got the foot on the serpent, conquering the evil. She's, the perfect woman with no sin. But almost every single iconography, all across the board, there's a moon. And not only is there a moon for Mother Mary, but specifically for her, it's a crescent moon, which is really, really funny. Because oftentimes the crescent moon has to deal with it's never considered a waxing or a waning crescent moon. Sorry. It's never really considered a waning crescent moon, which would mean that it's going towards the new moon. It's a waxing one, which means like the light is coming out of the darkness, right? So I find it funny because, as I mentioned in my video on space and time, this is more, it's always a crescent. It's never a full moon. Rarely. I couldn't find anything with a full moon. And the reason for that is because it's dependent on the space that the moon occupies. It's not based on when the moon is in whatever specific sign. There's different visuals and iconographies for when the moon enters a sign of the zodiac, and they have plenty of different depictions of that in different art pieces all throughout mythology. But for the woman specifically, it's always her standing on a crescent moon. Now, of course, the moon already epitomizes femininity and the Holy Spirit and things like that, but it's just ironic that it's always the same shape, because that's the point that I made. It's not when the moon enters the zodiacal space specifically. It's when the moon is in a space that occupies the same as when you were born, per the Eugene Yonash fertility method, which he was a doctor that discovered that, depending on the phase of the moon that you were born, where the space occupies in reference to the sun, not in reference to the stars. Because remember, everything's dimensional. The sun is in reference to stars. The moon is in reference to the sun, which is in reference to stars. It's all dimensional. And of course, wherever the sun is, the moon is going to have that light, and it's going to give the light back as well. I put a little, a cute little eclipse here. But all of these characters, this is all a virgin birth. Okay, well, how do you get pregnant? I mean, this to me, this seems obvious. And yes, again, we have discrepancies. You are able to train your body to activate these processes at different times. But if your anecdotal evidence is, I feel it during these times, I've got a plethora of other women who say they don't. So we can't use that as the basic of metric. I'm sorry. We can't say your feeling is going to be the end all be all epitomization of this, because the reality of it is that I have felt what I thought was sacred secretion as a man outside of my lunar alignment. I'm a sun sign Cancer. When the moon goes into Gemini, when it first enters Gemini, I start doing my practices, and I don't stop until the moon leaves the 11th degree of Leo, which is I'm in 11th degree Cancer. So until that moon leaves the 11th degree of Leo and goes into the 12th degree, I'm doing that whole process for like a week. And I'm actually the one who told Kelly Marie Kerr about the sidereal and traditional forms and how we should be coupling that with a 7-day system rather than a 3-day. That way we have preparation. So this is like for me, this is obvious. For me, this is obvious. You can't have an immaculate conception where the woman gets pregnant. And I mean, I guess you could. I guess God can do anything, right? He could get her pregnant, whatever. Doesn't it just make more sense for all of these virgin births who are all young women who are starting puberty or a little deeper into puberty that has something to do with their fertility, their menstruation cycle? Study all of the cultures where women were worshipped. It's all about fertility. That's what it always was, and that's what it always will be, because God is the creator, and he created all the little aspects, and then he creates Adam, which then creates Eve, and then, Adam doesn't create Eve, but Eve is born from Adam. And then Eve has the same power that God has to be able to create, because it's all unidimensional. It has to be a reflection. So God at the lowest level, not saying women are at the lowest level, but that's essentially the whole operation is women have more of a focal energy in their nervous system. Here's a scientific-y thing for you. Men have more nerves, solar plexus up. Women have more nerves, solar plexus down. Women are more magnetic, men are more electric. Okay? That's how it works. That's why men have the muscles and women have the womb. And this is why men were seen as more logical or more intelligent, because this was a justification of all the scholars back in the day. So again, did they get a lot of things right? Absolutely. Did they get some things wrong? Of course they did. And who are we to not, in our modern age, not question certain things? Because the problem that I see is just the repetition of dogma. If we're just going to sit here and repeatedly say the same things over and over and over again without coming up with new, better ideas, then we're just repeating the mistakes of the past, guys. So this is a call to action for the women to unlock the mysteries of the ovulation or menstruation method. Some women tell me it's ovulation. Some women tell me it's menstruation. We've heard it from both sides. But looking at the Immaculate Conception and the stories of all these characters, all of these people, it seems as though there's something deeper at play, and it has to deal with the fertility of the woman. So again, I have felt weird things outside of my time signature. I have thought I was doing sacred secretion outside of when the moon goes into my sun sign. I think that when you are first starting this process, you go along with the cycles of nature, moon and sun sign for man, ovulation for women, maybe. And then I think that your body adjusts over time. I mean, we know that you sync up to a partner, for example. So women especially are more sensitive, and they will sync up to partners or people in their house, family members, coworkers, things like that. Their cycles will sync up with other people's cycles. And so this is already evidence that there is something deeper at play here, and maybe the activation when you first initially start this is during those specific marketed points of time. But then over time, I think that you're able to train your body to do it more. It's possible. It's possible that once you awaken to consciousness, instead of the stars and the planets having an indication over you, you have an indication over you. That's what learning astrology is about too. When you learn astrology and you're able to say, oh, this is happening in the sky, I can account for this. Then you start to see all the unconscious people just falling in line. They just fall in line with whatever the cycles of time and nature are going to dictate. That, I think, is why people find astrology both fascinating but also terrifying, because it's very predictable. Like, you can use it to predict things, and you can. I try to stray away from that too much, but I have predicted things, and it's been kind of creepy because it's very accurate. Either way, I think that once you become more enumerated in this process, I think that you're able to have control over your body more than the stars and the energies of all that have over a dictation of you. And I think that's part of the awakening process. So I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Feel free to put in the comments any questions, comments, or concerns. Feel free to work with us, like, comment, subscribe. I hope the video was good. And really just looking at the whole spectrum, share your insights. What do you feel as women? What do you feel as men? How do you think about this process? What do you think? And, you know, really, I'm not looking for the anecdote. The anecdotal evidence is not, at this point, it's moot. Everybody's in a different point in their spiritual journey. So if you're feeling it in certain points in time, then just keep doing it the way that you are doing it. But I will give you a warning. This is by Dr. Carl Jung. There are many, many people who seek the Philosopher's Stone. There are very few who find it. And there's almost nobody who masters it. Instead, the stone masters them. They become the stone. They go into psychosis. Their ego is inflamed because now they have believed that they are the process. They are the epitomization of all the wisdom. God spoke to them personally. I'll admit I was there. I'll admit it. I was there. Years ago when I first started this, I was like, holy crap, like, I have all these things that God's showing me and I must be super duper special. We're all special, guys. We're all special. Nobody owns this wisdom. Nobody. These methodologies I have to protect to a certain degree by stating, you know, there are people out there who watch my content that don't give me credit and they steal my stuff. I say it all the time. Does it bother me? Not necessarily. It's flattering. But what bothers me is that other people are getting hurt because these people aren't doing the same extensive research that we are. And I know a lot of these people too. It's not like I don't know these people personally. I have their phone numbers and I've talked to them in the past. And I can tell you a lot of these people are doing different things behind closed doors than what they preach openly. We are here to just try to discover new ways of thinking. So don't sit here and preach dogma, please, because the dogmatic approach has been what's kept us in the dark for thousands of years, just regurgitating what somebody else said from hundreds of years ago. If your source is to say, you know, oh, well, look at what these three people said, that's not good enough. Sorry. Those three people are probably dead and you can't have a conversation with them. We need to start discovering things now. And we need to be very cautious of the things that we pay attention to and the things that we believe. Because, and I'm going to say this again, if we cracked the codes on this process, we would not have a battle between the sexes right now. The Immaculate Conception, the alchemical marriage, is the divine union, and all we've seen is an undivine separation. That's all we've seen. If we cracked the code on this process hundreds of years ago, even 100 years ago, with all the Walter Russell and Blavatsky, Manly P. Hall, Thomas Burgoyne, all these people, if all these people cracked this code and cracked these processes, we would not be where we are today. Instead, we have a complete disjunction of the male and female psyche. The divine masculine and feminine is completely under attack. I'm in the midst of working on some projects to alleviate this. But the whole concern from our team here is, if we had a utopia, what happened? If we built the greatest wisdom, what happened? Here's the honest hard to swallow truth. We don't know what the fuck we're doing or what the fuck we're talking about. That's the honest truth. That includes us here too. So we need help. We need people to experiment with this. We need your assistance to bring to the light in a kind and loving way what you think about this. We don't need dogma, and we don't need people being insulting and people being all upset because their ego is shattered because, but I did this way and I thought I was doing it right, and so you must be wrong, because we get those comments too, and it's honestly, it's childish, guys. It's childish. We're not saying you're wrong. If it works for you, it works for you. Great. What we're saying is this might be the Kickstarter to the process of having the divine feminine come back into society. Because right now, the divine feminine is not in society. As a whole, there are beautiful souls out there. A lot of you are the ones watching. And they are very divine feminine. Very, very divine feminine. But look at the whole. You're going to tell me that the whole of society today is divine masculine, divine feminine? Absolutely not. You're wrong. I'm just going to say that. I mean, that's my opinion, but you're wrong. I would argue it's almost fact. We have completely strayed away from this form of wisdom and understanding the implications of what it means. Every single culture that worshipped women was a fertility culture. Every single culture that put women on a pedestal put them on that pedestal for their fertility and their ability to create life. And a lot of women in the modern, philosophy of a school of thought, they think that is a bad thing. They think that it is insulting. And yet it's the most beautiful thing ever. I can tell you as a man, the fact that women can just give life in and of itself, yeah, I'm half of the equation, but still, she has to carry it, she has to birth it, and then she creates it. Or, well, it's a little backwards, but yeah, she creates it, carries it, and births it. Yeah, that's beautiful to me. Like, to me personally, I find that to be the most beautiful thing on the planet. I don't think anything is better than a happy mother. I don't think anything is better than a happy mother. And yet, what do we see? Miserable mothers. Why? Because they don't care. They don't care about their kids. Look at America right now. Women don't care about children. Not all of you. No, I'm not saying all women. You know what I'm saying. Look at America. Not all women care about children. And it's sad because that's taking them out of their divinity. They're abusing kids. They're killing kids. I'll say that. It's a hot take, but whatever. It's become a cult to Moloch. A Baal worshipping cult. That's what's happened. Lilith is taking over. Okay? And what is Lilith jealous of? Fertility. She's the mother that just spews the children and kills them and absorbs them, drowns them in the bathtub. This is important. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but this is important. So if you guys like the video, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think down below. Please support us. Work with us if you need help. And we love you guys very much. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care.